Hey, good morning, church. Hope you guys are having a great morning so far. So we transitioned to studying through the book of Daniel. We do chapter 3 today, and today is the fun chapter. This is the chapter that everybody knows. This is a chapter of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So we know we have a foreknowledge going into this chapter. So if we want to start off in verse 1, we see it says, King Nebuchadnezzar made a gold statue, 90 feet high and 9 feet wide. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. So first thing I want to point out is right there in verse 1, it says, he set it up. So throughout this first little bit, we see that Daniel makes no mistake. There's no room for mistranslation. King Nebuchadnezzar has set up this statue. So we see verse 1, verse 2, and verse 3 all have it saying that King Nebuchadnezzar has set this statue up. So we see that, in verse 2 it says he set it up. So then verse 2 says, King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to assemble the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the rulers of the provinces to attend the dedication of the statue King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So there we see that again, right? So King Nebuchadnezzar has set up this statue, right? So, like I said, he set this statue up. And he has invited all of these very important figures to come and attend the dedication of this statue, right? And so then we keep going. Verse 4 says, a herald loudly proclaimed, people of every nation and language, you are commanded, when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, drum, and every kind of music, you are to fall down and worship the gold statue the king Nebuchadnezzar has set up. But whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into the furnace of blazing fire. So we see what's going on here. We see that the statue has been set up. All these very important figures are there to attend the dedication. And we see that if you don't do what they say, then you're going to be burned in a furnace, right? So then verse 8 says, some Chaldeans took this occasion to come forward and maliciously accuse the Jews. So first of all, I want to point out, the maliciously accused the Jews. So the Chaldeans, which we'll talk about later on in this book, the Chaldeans took this case. So they took this opportunity. They see that, King Nebuchadnezzar has issued a decree that if you don't follow his rules, you'll be in a furnace no matter what, right? And so they see this opportunity and they say, wow, I'm going to maliciously accuse the Jews. They have some violent intent behind this accusation. There's no niceties about it. There's nothing. This is specifically to get at the Jews, right? And so they took this opportunity. They go to King Nebuchadnezzar and they say, there are these Jews over here that are in Babylon that are not doing what you say, right? And so we see verse 12 says, there are some Jews you have appointed to manage the province of Babylon. So these Jews have managed the province of Babylon. So they're not just people who are there. These are people who King Nebuchadnezzar has appointed, right? We see, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men have ignored you, the king. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold statue you have set up. So we see that the Chaldeans maliciously accuse them, and then King Nebuchadnezzar brings them to him, right? And so in verse 15, it says, now if you're ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, drum, and every kind of music, fall down and worship the statue I made. But if you don't worship it, you will immediately be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire, right? It's repeated from earlier. And it says, and who is the God who can rescue you from my power? Verse 16 says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, Nebuchadnezzar, we don't need to give you an answer to this question. If the God we serve exists, then he can rescue us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he can rescue us from the power of you, the king. But even if he does not rescue us, we want you as king to know that we will not serve your gods or worship the gold statue you set up. So we see that the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they come out and they say, man, my God's going to save me. And if he doesn't matter. I know where I'm going, but I'm never going to bow down to you, right? And so then obviously verse 19, King Nebuchadnezzar was filled with rage. So we see that he begins to, do exactly what he said. He's going to throw them into the fire, right? But he actually heats the fire up 7 times more than what he normally is, right? So then it's so hot that, we see in verse 22, since the king's command was so urgent, the furnace extremely hot, the raging flames killed those men who carried Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego up. So the fire is so hot that the people who even were close to the furnace died because it was that hot. And then, the 3 men, they were thrown in. And then we see King Nebuchadnezzar, he looks into the fire, and verse 25, it says, look, I see 4 men, not tied, walking around in the fire, unharmed, and the 4th looks like the son of the gods. And so here we see, obviously, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are thrown into the fire. But then we see that there's a 4th figure, and we know that it's God. We know that it is God, the Son of Man, right? But King Nebuchadnezzar doesn't quite know exactly who God is that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are serving. So they see that, they see this 4th figure, but they don't know exactly if it's Jesus or if it's God or who it is. He just knows that it is someone of divine nature. He knows that there's something different about this 4th person, right? And so then we see, God delivers them, and King Nebuchadnezzar is actually starting to praise God because of this instance. So, as I said, this is the fun chapter. This is the chapter that we all know. But, there's some things in there that I didn't really know until you read through it. So I hope you guys are enjoying the study. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. God bless.